Welcome to the Trades Podcast, a podcast about the business of home improvement and promoting the trades to young adults.
Yes, that's right. Happy days. This is the Trades Podcast. I'm Danny.
And I'm Jeff.
We're super excited. We're going to be talking about family businesses, dynamics, diving into a lot of those business owners out there to hear different perspectives and different methods and stories about how things get started and where it's going in the future. I'm super excited to not only have a local San Diego business, but also the whole team. She's the catalyst of the team, I would have to say. We have Andreina in the house. Andreina, how are you?
Good. Thank you. Excited to be here. Thank you.
You're very welcome. We're happy to have you. And you are one of the owners of the Repair Tech right here in San Diego. So welcome to the Trades Podcast, but want to give you a moment. Go ahead and introduce yourself, the business, into the Trades Podcast world.
Yeah. So, again, my name is Andreina. I am the owner of the Repair Tech. We are a heating, air conditioning, and appliance service company for San Diego. We service commercial and residential throughout the whole county. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, give us a little background. So as we were talking about a little bit offline, and if anybody takes a little scroll on your website, they see that it's kind of like a husband and wife duo. How did that all get started? Who was exposed to the space a little bit, maybe in the beginning?
Yeah. So, it's actually really funny. Usually, talking about trades, you would think that, my husband brought me into this world, but honestly, it's the other way around. My dad has his own company in San Francisco, so I watched him growing up in business, and I would say he's a serial entrepreneur. He started his business in San Francisco, had an appliance business there, grew it into HVAC. Then he made another division in Los Angeles. So I lived in Los Angeles for middle school while he grew that division of heating and air and appliances and a retail store for appliances. And then he moved to San Diego, or he moved the business to San Diego, opened another branch. And here in San Diego in Poway, I went to Poway High, and he had a heating, air conditioning, and appliance service company. And then he said, why not go to, TJ and open up a restaurant and franchise it and then sell it? So, like I said, my dad is very much a go-getter, a dreamer, and very entrepreneur spirit. And I grew up watching him and just learning from him and his experiences. And I have really early childhood memories of, playing under his desk, sitting on his lap, and him teaching me how to write checks, and, him literally walking me through every department and, moving my way up. I remember when I was I think I was like 12, he was like, I want you to be in charge of ordering all the kitchen supplies. And he started from there teaching me the small things and growing into bigger and bigger, to the point where when I was leaving high school, I was in charge of the whole San Diego branch, opening, closing, making sure that people had their shifts, making sure that the technicians had their stuff, hiring, firing, all of that. And I'm like, like, who is this? Who is this 17-year-old running this office? Like, it was crazy. Um, one of my favorite memories that I tell people is when I was 17, my dad had bought in some sweet tickets to the Padres game, and he had a client that he was trying to impress, but because his English is not so good, he was like, "You can do it. I believe in you. You can do it." And I was like, you believe a 17-year-old can take a client out to a Padres game and convince him to sign a contract with us? And he's like, yes, I believe in you. And surely enough, I went. I don't know what I said. I don't know what I did, but ended up a good thing.
We want to thank our sponsor. Superior Flooring Cabinet Designs is one of the landmark family-owned businesses in Encinitas. Owner Cheryl Robertson, with years of customer experience managing her family's hardware and cabinet business in North Park. Cheryl Robertson and the Superior team dive deep to learn about your project and help you find the perfect solution for your flooring and cabinetry needs. Call today at 760-436-0900 or visit www.superiorfloors.com.
So very
Invitation
early,
to the Padres would be pretty nice anyway. But
right?
a nice little treat to have the
Incentive.
yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. So I mean, I learned all kinds of business from him, from, just learning that your client is not just your client, but it's your community, it's your neighbor, it's your friend, it's literally the people that are feeding you essentially, to treating every single employee like they are family. They spend more time with you than they do with their own families. So we have to make sure that they are well taken care of. So that is basically what I learned from him and how I carry on my business and how I continue to do business. I think it's very important that, as we're growing, because we are a company that wants to grow, we don't want to stay a small mom and pop shop. That is not my dream. I want to make sure that no matter what, the culture continues and everyone always feels supported, seen, and heard within the business.
Awesome. So, how long have you been in business?
12 years now. I've been in business for 12 years. We had some evolutions along the way, obviously, as we were growing, expanding, and as the family was growing. Um, when we first started the business about 12 years ago, it was, we started it because my husband was working alongside a projects manager at a construction company. And it was a big firm that would travel throughout all of the United States, and the company would buy land, and then they would build these offices, these departments, grocery stores, whatever it may be. They would build it from the ground up. So he was the right-hand man to the project manager. So he was, contracting, he was making sure that the projects were getting done, doing change orders, doing all those kinds of things. He had a really good job, great benefits, great pay. But because he was traveling so much, um, that wasn't really going to work for our family. During my second pregnancy with my son, I found out that while I was pregnant that he was going to be born with special needs. And so just with that, the doctors told me, like, your entire life is going to change. He's going to need a lot of support. He's going to need full-time care. There's going to be a lot that we're going to have to learn as, he's growing, because they weren't really sure what it was that he was going to be born with. They just knew that developmentally it wasn't, a normal pregnancy. So, with that, I told him, I was like, hey, well, you've been doing this for a while and you've learned a lot. And I literally have started businesses with my dad. What if we just started our own thing? I think I would be a really good boss. And the benefit is you get to see me every day. Who doesn't want that? So, he took a leap of faith and he left his job, and, we did it for family. So when we first started the business, it was 12 years ago. And I remember, I love branding. I love marketing. That is like my bread and butter. I could do it all day, every day. I dream about starting businesses just to brand them. I come up with goofy ideas. And so I told him, I was like, hey, let's start a business. But, you know, I think, your name is Emmanuel Carrillo. How about, and, you're going to be doing appliances. How about we do EC appliance? And that way we can play off easy appliances, repair and installations. And I came up with this whole branding and everything. And we started the business that way. And it was very much, every time I would talk about the business, even though I'm the one that encouraged the starting of it, I'm the one that encouraged him to, like, let's do this thing, let's get you a license, let's do this. Like, I'm the one in the back end doing all these things. I didn't see myself as, you know, someone who was starting a business. I just saw myself as helping him start a business. But it was really, I mean, he never had a dream of starting a business. It was all me. And so, I just, I never really imagined myself being a business owner. I'd say, this is my husband's business. Oh, my husband does this. Oh, my husband does that. And then a couple years later, my brother saw that we were growing traction with what we were doing. And he decided to move from San Francisco to San Diego. And he was like, how about I become a business partner? And I was like, sure. I'm like, you bring heating and air conditioning. Like, we're doing appliances. You do heating and air. Like, let's merge the two. Let's make this something else. So then we evolved EC appliance into Paradigm appliance or HVAC and appliance repair. And then we were in business with him for about 4 years. But quickly we learned that although me and my brother grew up watching my dad run a business, me and him had totally, completely different ideas of how to run a business and what a business takes. And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. My dad more treated you like a technician and he treated me more like a business partner. So we learned two different aspects of business, right? He was more in the field. I was more in office operations, day to day, bookkeeping, all of that, HR. And so after that, we realized that we were more better off being brother and sister and staying family and being cordial than actually being in business together. So we parted ways, and then me and my husband looked at each other and we said, I think we got this. I think we can do this. And then from there evolved into the repair tech, heating, air conditioning, and appliances, a family owned business. But it was really funny in that transition when we were doing that. Literally, my brother, my dad, and my husband took me aside and said, "You're the owner." And I said, "No, I'm not. Like this is a man's world. Like, what are you talking about? Like trades? Like me? No, this is you guys. Like you guys know what you're doing." And they both looked at me and they said, "You're the one that came up with the business plan. You're the one that went to go get the licensing. You're the one that's been hiring. You're the one that's been contracting. You're the one that's been doing this. You've been doing that. Like, how are you not seeing that you are literally the one running this?" And I was like, oh, because I never thought about it that way. And then I started thinking, I was like, I've always seen my dad be in this power, mode of like being the owner, but I've never seen another woman own a construction company, an electrician company, a plumbing company, a trades company. Every time I would help my dad contract something, I was talking to men. I was talking to the owners who were men. So I never saw myself in that position. And I would always introduce my husband as that position. And even then, when I remembered that he pulled me aside and he was like, "You always say that I'm the one in charge, but I never pull the trigger without running something by you because you're the one that knows what I should be looking for in these contracts." And I was like, oh my gosh, like I didn't put one and one together. So I think it was really just an eye opening and a total shift in how I perceived myself, my role, and my business moving forward after that, when it was literally all these men in my life who were showing me and really encouraging me to step into the role that I'm supposed to be in.
So you've been the repair tech company for 5, 6 years now?
Yes. About 7 years now, yes.
Oh, okay, 7. Awesome. I really like the name.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and tell us about your employees. I mean, I know that you talk about you, the husband, and how you parted way with a few other business partners, but tell us about your team right now.
So we're a team of 12. We're small but mighty, I say. And we cross train. We really empower and encourage all of our technicians to one, cross train, because I think it's really important. Always be learning new skills. The industry is always changing. I think it's really important for their developmental state, because you never know what the shift in trajectory of one, the business is going to be, but the trades world is going to be, right? I mean, how many times have they changed out refrigerant in just the last 3 years? How many times have they gone from, efficient to, package units to now mini splits and, like all these stages. And it's like all these things, like the industry is changing so much, no matter in what aspect. I think it's really important for them to always be learning. So we really encourage our guys, and our gals. We're trying to bring in more women into the trade, to be learning all aspects. I'm always looking for trainings and I pay for the trainings. I encourage them to, educate themselves. And someone tells me I want to get NATE certified. I'm like, let's do it. Like, show me that you signed up and that you took the courses and I will refund you. Like, I encourage for them to keep learning and to keep educating themselves in all aspects. And again, I think we partner up a lot with like UEI, with Palomar College, San Joaquin up in Temecula, like all the trade schools that we can, because I think it's really important for them to, when they're in the trade school, to see that there is a path going forward, that there are other avenues, and that there are companies looking out for them. So, or looking for them. So I partner up with them a lot, and we do a lot of shows with them. We put booths. We try and encourage them. We show up. I've done a couple things where I've gone and actually talked to the students, and kind of talked about what life is after doing the trade school. Like, what is it actually walking into the workforce? So that's we're a very diverse group of people here at the office too. I think that that's one of the I love that. I love walking in here and seeing all walks of life here, and it's just really encouraging to me, that I am setting a path forward for everyone. And I really love talking about when I go to these trade schools. Most of the time people usually end up being in trades because they think, oh, it's a plan B. I didn't get a diploma. I wasn't the smartest tool in the shed, like all those kinds of things. But it's like, no, honestly, like a trade school should be plan A. Like, there is money here, there is education, there is a very like sophisticated way of thinking about how everything in your home, in your business works together, right? I mean, if it wasn't for those people that are building these buildings, where would we be? We'd still be in little shacks. So I think it's really integral how we think about the whole aspect of, trades. I was just talking to my husband the other day. My daughter learned about 9/11, and I was like, we were just talking about it, and all of a sudden my brain went to, huh, so I wonder how the plumbing was all the way up to those very high floors. You know what I mean? Like, you just start thinking about all aspects of like, well, what was the stability? How many, like how many beams, how many this, how many that? Like, it's just like your brain starts going to all these little things that you have to think about when you're building an infrastructure of a building. So, I don't know. For me, it's very fascinating. My brain starts going to a whole bunch of like, oh, well, if there was an earthquake, how stable is the place really?
Hmm.
And then to think about the person that had to think about all those things to make sure that the place was sustainable for an earthquake. Like, that's a lot of math.
It is. It's definitely the construction trades and STEM have
Yes.
come together a lot. I mean, to build something now, you need engineers, architects
Yes.
to help do the design work, and they rely on the trades to solve the intricacies that they can't plan for, that they don't know about in the building process. There's a lot more communication back and forth in the building process of working out.
Exactly. And I love that. I love that there's a very big crossover between that, and that there's more communication and more encouragement to be in trades and STEM. I honestly, I encourage my kids from a very young age to always be hands-on doing something. I think it's really funny. The other day, I was just overhearing my office. I have a 17-year-old, and she grew up in the business like I did, right? So in the trades. So we were talking, and I was just overhearing them. My lead technician was like, I can't wait till Andreina's daughter goes into summer, like she's done with school, because I'm going to be, I'm going to finally have like a right hand person to be leading these crews and this, and that. My 17-year-old. And I thought back to when I was 17. And then I have my office manager who's like, fighting over her, being like, no, 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 no. What are you talking about? She's not going to be out on the field with you. I need her in here. I need help with operations. And so they're all fighting over her. And it just brought me back to when I was 17 and I was working for my dad and all the things and all the departments that I was running. And I was like, just like a very proud mom moment, like to think back to exactly how they're talking about my daughter is probably how my dad heard his staff talking about me.
Awesome. Do you mind if we switch subjects a little bit?
Sure,
You-
no, of course.
You're part of the Better Business Bureau,
Hmm.
and they just had a Industrious Women Summit up in Fresno. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was, oh my gosh, that was so encouraging. It was so amazing to have so many women from all different trades and to be on the panel. I actually was talking about, you know, the construction world. My cousin actually is taking over her dad's heating and air company and in San Francisco. And I encouraged her to come. And she left that going, wow, I didn't realize how much of an impact like watching women from trades can really make on a community. Like everyone was coming up being like, wow, like you're inspiring, you're encouraging, like how do and asking the question, right? How do we encourage more women to get into the trades? And that was just really powerful for me, like super impactful. I was I was so excited to bring her on too, because I was like, girl, come on, like we should go talk. We need to go encourage women to get in the trades. And she's like, how does one do that? And I'm like, I'll show you. So it was great. And Samantha's great. The whole BBB team is amazing for putting that on and to, just to encourage everyone. I think all the speakers were great. The panelists were amazing, encouraging, and had so much great insight. And I think I made some really good connections and friends, because being a business owner is lonely. Being a trades business person is lonely. And then to be a woman in trades is lonely too. So that to build those connections and build those friendships and to meet other women that we can all encourage each other in ownership, in trades, and just encouraging other women. I think that was the win for me, to be honest.
Awesome. Yeah, I've heard great things about that. Obviously, I'm not.
Yeah.
That's great. I mean, the BBB, they're always taking an initiative in regards to pushing the envelope for one, diversity, to, just inclusion on all different industries, and that's definitely something that we absolutely love hearing. We just got finished doing a recording with a welder, and she is absolutely going out to high schools, going out to communities, and she says to start as young as 11. And like you said, you getting exposed to that, hearing it from your dad's side, that piece is a key thing for a lot of business owners out there too that have families where maybe they may not want to get into the same business, but at least they have the knowledge of
Mhm.
what it means to run a business and what it
Yes.
means to build those skills. I think you mentioned it earlier of people, question how forward you are sometimes, or how direct you are, and that comes with a backbone of business, of a small business. So
Yeah,
uh,
confidence.
yeah, that confidence, exactly, that confidence. So, I mean, how do you communicate with your team? Let's talk about a little bit more of your operations and what you're doing right now, so we can kind of speak to kind of like the business owners out there.
Mhm.
What are some key things that you think have been helped you in the past 5 years to be where you're at today?
Mhm. Well, definitely having a business partner has been helpful. And I know not everyone has that luxury of having a business partner or a good business partner. Cause that also makes a huge difference, right? You can have a business partner, but they cannot be very helpful sometimes, or maybe you guys are off on vision, or the way you guys run things are so different, which although that is the aspect here with me and my husband, we are two completely different people. We see business very differently and we run things very differently. We still know that there has to be a compromise and we still know that we are still business partners at the end of the day. And if we are not synced, then our whole entire team will feel unsure of where they stand because they see two people bickering. So we understand that we need to put those things aside and we need to be a collective for when we're in front of our team. With that said, I think the way that I do business is completely different from how my husband does business. I watched my dad. I think, like I said earlier, I think everything goes back to childhood trauma, right? So, I watched my dad run his business, and being in the trades, there's a whole bunch of different things that can happen, right? And I remember one of the most irking things for me was always watching my dad give second chances. And not just second chances, third chances, four chances, five chances, six chances. I mean, hey, if someone came back to him right now from the past and said, "Hey, can I have a 12th chance?" He'd probably say yes. He is such a good guy. And not to say that you don't have to be a good guy, but I mean, for me, watching that just hurt me, watching how much people hurt him, right? So I am more firm on the way that I run things. You literally get three chances with me, and you have to make it right, and you have to be making progress to making those changes. And if I don't see them, I'm sorry, but we have to cut ties. I laid out a plan. I gave you clear instruction. I was very forward on how I wanted things done and how what my expectation for you and this project was, right? And if it doesn't happen, then I'm sorry, we just can't. And I think, saying this out loud, I think back to my kids, and they very much say, "Mom is a very stern person. You do not get a second chance with her. So you better make sure that things are done right, and that you listen." So I think that with my employees, I do the same thing. And when I do talk to them, I always say, "Well, what didn't you understand from what I said?" I'm always asking those questions of clarification. I want to make sure that I didn't just give an instruction and it wasn't understood. I want to make sure that you understood what the expectation was, or what your version was, right? Because maybe I said something and my version of it was not what your version of it is. So I always ask follow-up questions. I also do a lot. I try and encourage my team, and I try and mentor my team. So a lot of the times, like, I had one kid who was learning how to do dispatching, and he was coming in late. And I talked to him and I said, "So I want to understand, if you know that you have to be here at 8 o'clock, why are you walking at 8:07 through that door?" And he was like, "Oh, like, sometimes there's a train that runs by my house, and then the light turns red and I have to wait and this and that." I'm like, "Well, thank you so much for acknowledging that you understand that there's an obstacle that might impair you to be here late. So, moving forward, what are you going to do to make sure that that is no longer a factor?" And I wait for them to give me a solution, because I can't always be the one giving solutions. I want them to grow. I want them to learn. I want them to grow. So a lot of the times, that's how I encourage my team in growth, in self growth, and self acknowledgement, right? Because that's the only way, that's the only way one grows and one learns. At least in my experience. I mean, growing up with my dad, I mean, I he gave a lot of chances, but I felt like not a lot of people were learning because he was literally handing them things. And when I try to be stern, they would bypass me because they would say, "Well, your dad wouldn't be mad." And I'm like, "Okay, but you're also being disrespectful at this point." So for me, it's like, I don't like to see that, and I don't want that, and I don't want it to become a bad habit. So I try and encourage my team, "Okay, let's learn from this situation. Let's use this as a teachable moment. And what did you learn, and how can you make yourself better?" Because ultimately, that's what we want, your growth. So how do we do that?
So you're empowering ownership. The problem wasn't yours to own. The problem was the employees to take ownership of the problem and solve it.
Exactly.
Good job. A lot of people don't recognize that. They try to solve it and then delegate it.
Yeah.
It's always
Yeah.
temporary.
Yes. Yes. And then it's no one really learned anything in my point of view. And nothing was learned. There was no lesson learned. It was just something handed. And I think the only way to get, people to see their own power in something is to have them grow in it and learn something from it. I'm very
100%.
much a mom.
Very good. Now, I understand you just completed a type of schooling. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I did a program at Stanford, and it was through LBAN, the Latino Business Association at Stanford, and it was a business scaling program. And it was an amazing program. I got to learn from professors. I got to learn from some really amazing, very skilled people out in that work for Google, that work for Grubhub, like in marketing, in trajectory, and just business planning and scaling in general. And it was so amazing to hear their perspectives. There was one course, because right now we live in an age of AI, right? Everything involves AI. And it was so interesting that while we were using AI for our business, the way that he presented talking or thinking about AI in your business just completely made a whole shift for me. I was like, wow, I've been asking AI the wrong questions and to learn about my own business. And that was huge. So I absolutely love this program. It really made me think. It really challenged me a lot to really think about ownership and the way I lead, the way I expect my team to learn from me, the way that the business should be running without me, and just a whole bunch of other things that I had an idea of. But when you get to a certain place, you're like, how in the world do I get to the next level? That's what this program did for me, and it was really, really encouraging because now I feel like I'm ready for the next level. I'm ready to scale the business in the right direction, and I have some of the great skill sets now to do it.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah, I mean, so that was you, and how many other cohorts were in there? How many other students were in there?
So I was part of cohort 21. So we were up to 21. They have started applications now for the next cohort. And out of our cohort, I remember there being 120 students. Yeah. And so we're all encouraged to network together, to learn from each other. And although we're in different industries, there were some more other construction companies there, whether it was electrical or paving or other trades. Um, we, no matter what, all business owners have the same goal, to grow and scale and to be the best leader for your team. So we were really encouraged to like talk to each other, give each other insight. Even if we weren't from the same industry, it's like, well, something you say might be something that someone else was thinking about, but they didn't even realize that they needed help in that. And you're saying things like I had a lot of conversations where we had the same goals, but I was like, wow, I didn't even think about it in that aspect till you said it that way. Now my mind is thinking about it in a whole different direction. And I'm encouraged for how I'm going to think about it next to make sure that my whole team is thriving. So I thought it was really encouraging to be around so many other business owners that all had the same goal in mind to scale the business and make sure that we are going to that next level of, being a support for our teams.
Awesome. I'm sure you probably learned a lot. One, communication, the programs that you can probably even, one, help yourself be a better leader, business owner. But I mean, to be a part of that type of environment, a lot of people would pay a lot of money to do that. And that's great that you got an opportunity like that. I mean, what would be someone, was that like a personal invite? What would someone do to try to find a resource like that?
Honestly, I didn't even know about this program till someone who is very close to me encouraged me. We all have our networks, right? And I have someone in my network who is super encouraging, and she's always putting things in front of me that are gonna that are going to help me grow, not just as a person, but as a business owner. And I absolutely love her. And I'm so thankful for her for doing that. And she's the one that I think it was like 3 days before the deadline. She brought this to me and she's like, ask no questions, you're applying. And I was like, well, what am I applying to? She's like, have I ever steered you wrong? And I was like, no. Okay, then apply. And I was like, okay. So I submitted the application and then we did an interview because they vet you before putting you into this program. They do a lot of vetting. It's a three-part interview. You have to turn in pay stubs, make sure that your revenue is on track. You have to show a business plan. They want to make sure that because you're going to be talking to professors, they also connect you with people who are investors, angel investors, VCs, things like that at the end of the program. They want to make sure that you are the right fit of what these people are looking for. So I was doing all that, and as I was talking to them in the interview process, I was like, "Oh, I didn't realize that that's what I was getting myself into." I'm like, I'm super excited now more than before because now I know what this program is. But thank you, like, oh my gosh, and to be accepted on the first try. I was actually at the program with 3 other people who were like, "This is my 3rd time applying," and I finally got in.
Good.
Wow, that's a great opportunity. I mean, that's definitely something. I'm sure there's plenty. I know BBB, they also do a few cohorts and those items as well. But that's a very specific one where, you get a pretty deep dive into your business and, really get to look at it from, different people's perspectives and, like you said, different industries, because there's a lot of overlapping, uh, um, scenarios I can say business owners probably go through on a daily basis, not necessarily with the same tools, but definitely scenarios of conversations, like just like you mentioned, sitting down with employees and really trying to help them out. Really, I mean, help them help themselves. I think
Yes.
that's always a great thing right there. So that's exciting. The repair tag. I was scrolling through your website. If I can switch over to your website, I saw there was a great resource page. And can you talk to us about what those resource pieces are in there? There's like some kids books. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah. So going back to, like I said, my son has special needs, right?
Yeah.
So I started thinking about my business not just as a business owner, but as a mom, as someone in the community, as a, if I was going to refer this place, what is the connection that would make me want to trust them? I mean, we are a service-based company. We have people going into your home. I feel like sometimes that can be invasive, right? Like you have this stranger going in. So when I was thinking about it, I was like, okay, that is all true, but it's another level of truth to special needs families who have children who don't cope well with change, who don't do well with strangers, and who just sometimes need a little extra guidance in order to be able to do day-to-day functions. So for my son, we do a lot of social stories, whether that's going to the dentist. We have to run, we're going to the dentist, this is what it's going to look like, these are the people that are going to be there. And so I started thinking, I was like, why don't we have something like that? We're in people's homes, we're invading people's space. We should have something like this for clients like my son. So I started playing with the idea of social stories and also worksheets because I want to bridge that gap and that trust between client and the business and the technicians. So we made these worksheets that as you're running through a service call in your home, sometimes even as a bit as a homeowner, you don't know what to ask, right? But children are always the ones so curious. So we made these worksheets and it says, ask your technician, why is my stove making this clicking noise? Why is my dishwasher not turning on? Why is our AC, the thermostat, blinking at me? And that opens conversations to the technician and to the homeowner and to the child. Now the child is getting involved and we're showing them a trade, right? But then at the same time, now you're building that confidence with the mom and dad or the homeowner to be able to be encouraged to ask the questions that they didn't even know that they could ask. So we made it with that intention, and we made it with my child in mind. And then the social stories. Sometimes when you have a stranger going to your house, you don't know what to expect. So we encourage people to come and download these books and ask the questions that should be asked. You know, when they come into our home, what does it look like? What should they have? What are the tools in their bag? Why are they using those tools? Why are they making weird noises? Is it going to be loud? Is it going to be, a long process? Are they going to fix something? Are they not? So it's I want to make sure that there's a whole connection between the family, the child, and the service technician to feel safe.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a great resource. I think it's super creative. I haven't seen anything like that,
No.
and that's definitely through a lot of episodes that we had on the podcast, and a lot of businesses that have great ideas. But this is great. I mean, just to name off a few, like you mentioned, home comfort storybook. What when the repair tech comes to my house, activity sheet. What is the technician doing? And it's and it's interactive, so I like it. You can actually share that with your kids at home. Anybody that's out there listening to this during the summer, I imagine, someone's AC is going to go down. So make sure you call repair tech. That's cool.
Yeah, thank you. No, for sure. I think that that's one of the biggest things. We want to make sure that there definitely is a comfort, a next level comfort between the repair tech and the homeowner.
Amazing, amazing, awesome. Well, we've been sitting here with Andreina, and just learning a little bit more about your background, and it goes deep, a lot of deep roots that you have through entrepreneurial, through your dad, through the family, and now it's a family business, and like you mentioned, it's not going to be something that you're looking to, continue to stay in. So you're putting things in place to make sure that people understand the culture, people understand the mission, and your goals through the company. And I think you're hitting everything in the right direction. So I want to give you a last opportunity if you'd like to speak to everybody out there in the trades podcast world. Maybe someone is going through something just like you are. What would you give some advice in regards to business or personal?
I would say, in regards to business, definitely surround yourself with other business owners. Like I said earlier, it can be a very lonely world, but it's only as lonely as you make it. So I definitely encourage making friendships with other business owners, and definitely encouraging each other, because sometimes, even if you're not in the same trade, even if you're not in the same industry, even if you're not in the same city, I think having an ear, someone, a therapist, if you will, to talk to and just vent to. I mean, because business is business at the end of the day. We're all dealing with employees, we're all dealing with um industry changes, whether it's in the taxes. I mean, how many times are inflation's going up, and, the state wants to raise their taxes, or whatever it is. It's no matter what, someone is always dealing with something, and it always goes back to business and what you're dealing with. So definitely make friendships, definitely encourage each other, and 100% build a little community around yourself to make sure that you always feel uplifted, and that you always feel encouraged.
Yeah, that's great. Great advice. Hmm. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Andreina. Everybody, this is a Trades podcast. We can't wait to have you share this out to everybody. It spreads out all across different spectrums of be able to learn a little bit more about small business, but also what a small business turning into a big business with big mentality comes into play. Taking things very seriously and very direct, and just keep pushing the envelope forward, because that's your goal as a business owner, and your duty when you have employees that are dedicated to you and they're committed. So thank you so much for shining that light, Andrea. Really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. Very, very good show. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you
Thank
so
you guys
much.
for having me.
You're very welcome, and we'll see everybody next time.